One Word is a production of BFAC On Air.
Welcome back to One Word.
One word.
One word.
That wasn't your note.
I'm
Wait.
Dominic.
Let's do it again.
Should we do it again? Okay, wait.
One word.
You need to be here.
I'm Dominic.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Rozzy. And I'm Clara.
And Rozzy is our special guest for this episode.
Stay tuned to the end because we hit it and it was beautiful.
Yeah, we got
Yeah.
it.
You
Which is
did.
funny because we did that one first.
We
Yeah.
did.
We loved it. We'll get it
We
back.
filmed these in reverse. We filmed the episode first and then the intro. So this episode, I'm kind of alone here, aren't I?
Yeah.
He's an island.
I'm an island
You're an
on
island.
my positive thinking for what gossip could be. And let me preface that my ending is all about what we could do with it. But I don't think my friends here think humanity can do it. Is that the essence I'm getting here?
I think that it's just hard to think of it in those terms. I think that I think the way that the positive gossip is defined in my head is something else. It's not gossip.
You have a different word for it.
It's like a different word. It's a different thing.
It's networking.
No, don't. Oh, you know what? Ooh.
Right? No?
No.
Okay,
I think it's like speaking positively about somebody, or like,
And they just happen not to be in the room.
and they just happen to not be there, and it's okay to share that positivity about them, but it's not. It's just in my head. It's not defined as gossip because gossip is negative, and I know.
No.
I know that it can, they say that it can be positive or neutral, but like there are these strict lines in my head of,
Mhm.
nope, gossip is like slandering or whispering or just speaking negatively.
But it can be good for the group,
guidingly.
even if it's speaking negatively about
but that's
someone
so
not carrying their weight.
terrible.
Can't that be good for the group itself?
It's always going to make that other person feel bad, though. I feel like
Yeah.
in any situation,
Yeah.
having someone talk about you, like, is just going to make you feel worse. Even if what they're saying is true, even if you did, like, just totally not pull your weight. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
that doesn't make you feel good to have them telling other people that.
It doesn't. And I'm not saying that it necessarily does make that person feel good, but it could be good for the whole group on its own to then eliminate that person.
What about
That actually
person?
saddened me too, right?
That
The whole word
is-
eliminate, where I was like, no, don't eliminate. I was
we
thinking,
talked about primates.
Yeah,
in
we
the
talked about
episode
primate.
and how we kind of it comes from there.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, so Clara shares a story later, and I was just thinking about that story of like gossip and, when people were gossiping about her. And I just was thinking, like, if everybody were just able to actually speak to the people, right? If I'm thinking, like, let's say there's that slacker who's not pulling his weight. And maybe all of us realize, like, let's just say there's a person here named Person.
Yes.
And Person is not pulling their weight.
Yeah.
Maybe we all know it, but I'm not going to talk to you guys about it. I shouldn't. I might. I shouldn't. I should talk to Person about it. And then maybe that will help Person, right? And then maybe you also talk to Person. And maybe Clara and, oh, I'm sorry. Clara, I hit the mic.
Person's chair. Or no chair.
I hit, all right, talk to Person about it. And then that's going to help us come together instead of eliminating Person.
But how do we schedule all those person talking
We
to
don't.
person?
We do it on our own.
Okay. All right.
Those are
Okay.
that's all.
Yeah. No, I think the audience is going to have an interesting time listening to this episode.
I know. I
Mhm.
want to know what the audience thinks. Hey, audience.
And how they and what side they fall on.
What do you think,
It's
audience?
good to not necessarily always agree, but have conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think at its core, this episode is really about the rights and wrongs of it. And I think whether or not they're good, like whether or not gossip is actually a good thing, I think we can agree that what it has become or how it's used can be destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
And that's where I want to caution the audience to go away from those destructive elements and possibly use it for the good, which some people don't think there are any good uses of it. But here we go.
Well, part of what makes gossip in the definition that Dominic gave us is that it's fun. And something really fun that we talked about is in King Louis's court, his way of getting the gossip, his special way of getting the gossip, I found very fun to talk about, very fun to think about what I would do, what I would tell the king.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really fun.
Yeah.
We also talked about the kind of biology behind gossip and how it, like, our bodies kind of formed because of it, or to something.
The language.
The language.
Yeah.
Wow, my words were not working.
I like
just
how
now.
our brain developed because of it.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
like how we changed from primates into human beings with larger brains and the
Yeah.
necessity of why gossip was there. Yeah.
I have a random fact.
Yeah. Love random facts.
Did you know that the average person spends 52 minutes a day gossiping?
I read that somewhere.
Did you?
52 minutes a day gossiping.
That sounds like so much.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
So, but I'm guessing with that, though, they are using any instance where the person's not there and you're making some kind of judgment.
Oh.
Like any instance. Would you agree? Like to be that much?
Yeah, right. 52 minutes. That's not like, listen, I could use that 52 minutes for something
Mhm.
else.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Great.
Intriguing.
Well, my friends, I don't see any reason for us to talk about this any longer. Without further ado, I just have one word for you. Gossip.
Gossip is a noun and a verb. When it's a noun, it's a person who habitually reveals personal or sensational facts about others. And when it's a verb, to give a rumor or report of an intimate nature.
Interesting.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Sensational, intimate. Those words are very triggering words, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mm.
And so let's put
Sensational.
Yeah. Let's put the definition to the side. Just a minute here,
Okay.
just for a split second. And
Done.
let me ask you, when you hear the word gossip,
Yeah.
what do you think of?
Just like bad. Like I
like
feel
bad
like
talking people.
yeah, like bad talking bad about someone behind their back and usually saying
Oh.
like nasty things.
Bad about someone behind the back, nasty?
It makes me feel like immediately like I'm like guilty because like I never like
Mhm.
what if I'm like I don't think I'm gossiping, but that someone is like you're gossiping about this person. Like it's happened to me before. I've been like just like telling someone about something that happened. They're like you shouldn't gossip about other people, and I realize ooh maybe it is a little
Maybe
bit
that's gossip.
Mhm.
gossipy.
Mhm. What about you?
I think about tea.
Do you think about tea?
Yeah.
Like
Like spilling the tea.
spilling
Like
the tea?
spilling the tea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got a
what's the
few of
tea?
those we could talk about later on
Yeah.
today, like different things that have come, language that has come out and sayings that are throughout time that came out. Yeah. So there are three things that someone named Erica Brzezinski says that you need to be gossip. Number one, it needs to be a conversation about someone not present.
Oh, so I can't gossip about you while you're here.
That wouldn't be gossip.
What if I did this? Oh my gosh.
Then that would be gossip.
Well, I
Did
think
you
you
hear
might
about
need
that?
something more, like a piece, no, something
okay.
a little thicker. Number two, it involves some kind of moral judgment. So what number two says is that it's not necessarily gossip if it's just a fact, right? Clara earned $12 by throwing the garbage away. I didn't say Clara's a great human being because she earned $12, right? There's no judgment whatsoever. A fact is a fact. If there's data to back up that fact, it's not technically gossip yet, okay? And number 3, this is a great one.
Oh.
Because it's fun. That's literally the third
it's
one.
It's fun.
Oh, it's fun.
It has to be fun, right? So you've got a conversation about someone not present. It involves some kind of moral judgment, and it's fun.
Can the moral judgment be just in the tone of your voice?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say yes to that, because how many times do we have subtext inside of us and we say one thing? It could even be like if you ask me how I'm doing, and I go, fine. I'm obviously not fine with that. But
Right.
if I say, oh, Clara earned $12 taking the garbage out,
Right?
like that's completely different than Clara earned $12 taking the garbage out.
Yeah.
There was some judgment to that, right?
Yeah.
So judgy.
So I'm going to say yes, because we use words not only with spoken words, we use them in how we say
nice
things.
Episode. The nice
Yeah.
episode, we talked a lot about how tone of voice.
Yeah,
That's true.
can
that is
affect,
true.
like,
Yeah. So those are the 3 things. And is it going to surprise you if I say there are biological reasons why we gossip? Does that surprise you?
Biological reasons?
Like as humanity
Okay.
formed, our brains got larger because of gossip. Language formed because of gossip.
That's interesting.
The root of everything is gossip.
So it's like, it's really not gossip, it's just learning.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But it is. So everything we talked about, there was a reason I asked you what you thought gossip was.
Okay.
They were pretty negative. They were pretty, although spilling
tea,
tea.
yeah.
Spilling tea is
Yeah,
fun.
it's
It's fun to say.
But that's how you know it's gossip, because it's fun.
Yes, that's right.
If you're having fun, that's gossip.
Yeah, it's gossip. Because there was a necessity to it. And it was about the assembling of human beings into groups. Okay? And people or animals, right? We've got different things we're good at, and we need to provide in order for our group to be successful in the course of our existence and breathing and living on this planet. A herd, everyone must be the outlier on the herd at some point. In a flock of geese, everyone must be at the front point of the flock of geese at some point, right?
That's a lot of pressure.
But everyone must take their time, their turn doing that, right? And primates have something called reciprocal grooming. Have you seen that at the zoo ever, right?
Pick bugs out of each other.
Yeah. So they're like, and very specifically, it's if you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. That's actually what that's all about. And then while you're there, take out a flea or two and throw it away or eat it, right? So that's good when your group is 10, 15, 20 people. But as groups get larger and larger, if we do reciprocal grooming on every single person or primate or thing in our group, we would spend all of our time doing that and get nothing else done, because you could trust the other primate when you groomed them and then they groomed you in return. You knew I could trust you, okay? And so the language then was, okay, if I groom you and you don't reciprocate that to me, untrustworthy. Other people must be warned.
Oh, and then they started telling
and
people,
language
this
starts
person
to develop.
didn't even groom me. I groomed that boy.
Our minds got larger. So Robin Dunbar is the person's name who says specifically that gossip replaced grooming to maintain order in social groups.
How did Robin know? Did she go be a part of these?
Well, first of all,
primates?
I believe Robin is a he.
How did he know? Oh, Robin, I'm sorry. How did Robin know? Did Robin go
Scientific
live a part of
studies,
them?
and to be specific about this, there's actually a number that is like the optimal group size.
6.
Great. Let's guess what these are.
I think
Let's guess. So we go 6,
5.
5,
8.
Wow.
Is it? Wait. No, don't tell us. Don't tell us. Wait.
Is it higher?
Is
than
it
that?
higher than 10?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
22.
Okay.
24.
Ooh, 43.
Okay.
Whoa.
I'm just going to say it, okay?
Okay.
We can have at any one time 150
No.
meaningful, simultaneous relationships.
That's too big.
That's a lot.
Okay.
150.
150.
Like,
And that
meaningful
number
relationship.
has like gone into other things too, like different regiments of armies and whatnot were set at 150.
Well, okay.
And yes.
Oh.
I feel like it's not a group anymore. It's an army. Like that is
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
That's really
So-
big. How can you have a
so
meaningful
that-
connection?
Yeah.
So it's meaningful and simultaneous relationships. So, and here's the quantifying factor on that. You have to be able to know how people feel about you and keep track about how each one of them feels about each other. And that is how our brain can do that. With 150 people, we can keep track of how 150 people think of us, and we can keep track of how 150 people each think of one another. That's thousands of different combinations of how people think of one another.
I can't keep
That
track of
wasn't
how one
fair.
person thinks about
You
me.
just said a group. I was like, how many people in a friend group? Like, more than 8, it gets messy.
So yes, you're right. I wasn't fair. I'll give that all to all of you. So
That's a lot of people. Like that's a
Yeah.
lot to keep track
That
of.
sounds like a lot of work.
That is
Yeah.
a lot
Like,
of work.
like I have trouble like memorizing people's names, and then to know
Yeah.
like how they feel and how I feel, and like how they feel about each other. It just sounds like a lot.
and then how that person feels
Yeah,
about that
exactly.
person.
Yeah, but think about it. Just pause for a second and think about your own lives right
Okay,
now.
done.
Okay, think about that, and think of different people. I bet you, because I did when I read that number and this whole thing, I did it to myself.
Did you write down 150 people?
No, I didn't write down 150, but I was just like thinking of people, and I was like, oh, whether it's right or not, I could come up with an idea of how person A thinks about person B and person C and person D. What about person F? How do they feel about person A? Okay, I've got a good idea of that. Do that just for a second. Can you do
Okay.
that with a few people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's so weird. I feel like it's so like second nature. Like you don't really. It's just in your brain, but you don't like think
It's
about
biological.
it. Yeah.
Right. You don't think about it. And then what happens over that time is language forms for it. And what they say is that our language, which with our tenses and nouns and verbs and whatnot, form strictly for the purpose of gossiping.
Like
Right?
in what way?
Think of it. Subject, verb, object. Okay? Who did what to whom?
Oh,
And
That's
for-
a good point.
And for our survival, we need to know who did what to whom. And not just for bad. Right?
But then would it be gossiping?
So
Is it still
It
gossiping?
sounds pretty fun when you say it like that. Ooh, did what?
It's like a
Do you
clue
know what it
game.
is? I was gonna say it's clue. It's not gossip. It's clue. We got this.
So if we go back to the definite, right, the three things, it's a conversation about someone not present. Okay, it involves a moral judgment, and it's fun. So let's just say that Rozzy, right? I forgot my lunch today, so Rozzy gave me a snack. Well, I gave you all of those right there. I did them out of order.
Rozzy gave a snack to
me. Thank you very much.
that's
Thanks.
very nice of me.
Right? And I was just about to say, wasn't that great of her? That then is
A
gossip,
moral-
but it's not bad.
No,
I've
it's
just
good.
said
Oh.
something about Rozzy. I've made some kind of moral judgment. Isn't that nice of her? Isn't that
Yeah.
great of her? Because not nice. We know it's not nice based on our
mhm.
previous nice episode.
Listen, I still like the word nice. I still use it all the time.
And it was fun. It was fun for me to say
Aw.
that about Rozzy.
Rozzy.
Oh,
And what
thank
that
you.
does to our group of people,
If
that
I-
is passing on information that Rozzy can be trusted.
And she has snacks.
And she
And I
has
have
snacks.
snacks.
And we won't go hungry
Important.
with Rozzy. What do we think about that twist in gossip?
Well, I think it's hard to think about gossip in that way because I feel like
Mhm.
we're so often told, don't gossip. like don't gossip about people, don't gossip about things. And so I think gossip has taken this negative connotation.
I agree.
Which is interesting because it even goes further from what the original, meaning of gossip was, which we have not talked about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about later. I got things to say.
Okay.
So it's gone far from that. But then when you think about it with positive things, it's like, oh, okay, gossip. There can be positive gossip, but I don't think people ever think about positive gossip. I was actually looking up like the history of the word and was like, well, how far does gossip go? And I can't remember years, but then I was like, well, was it before that? Because I remember I was looking through, like, I know in the Bible it'll say things like, it'll specifically talk about gossip, and then it was like, well, is that the word it was? And in one translation I was reading, it was saying that the Hebrew for it was actually whisper, which I thought was an interesting, way to kind of like think about gossip of like whisperings. So it's just interesting, like the different.
'Cause you're whispering behind someone's back.
Right. Where it's like, well, you wouldn't need to whisper if it was.
You could just say it out loud.
You could just say it out loud. Why would you need to whisper? So yeah. So I think it's interesting that I don't think people think about gossip in a positive way. I think they would just be like, I'm just sharing positive things about Rosie and her snacks.
Right. I totally agree with you. I think that's where you stem off from, like, the biological necessity gossip arrived and what humanity actually did. Does you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we know about English history?
Do we know about English? Yes.
Yes.
I know English. Like English history in general?
Yeah, well, so do we know about the Restoration period in England when the throne was restored? King Charles II had to flee England, right? And he went over to King Louis over in France, right? And so King Louis, do you know what he used to do in his court? So they would say their prayers, daily and do their things. And then afterwards, he would have a candle passed to a person. And that person then had the chance to tell King Louis something wonderful about another person.
Whoa.
And if you got that candle from King Louis, and it was good enough piece of gossip, he would accelerate you. There were good things for you to come. Now, King Charles II grew up there because he was exiled from England, but then when he was restored to the throne and he goes back to England, now, what are some of the things he does? Well, one of the big things that he does is he abolishes, that you can't have entertainment or plays or things like that. And so we have the birth of the Restoration Theater when the throne is restored. And what kinds of theater is performed? Oh, all of these things with gossip in it and all of that element in the Restoration Theater. And now we start to see our entertainment as gossip and that element of things. And we're going to fast forward later in this episode all the way to today and what we see as entertainment and whether it's gossip or not. But that's how humanity used it. Does that make sense?
I think that's so funny because I just imagine
it was currency.
Yeah, I just imagine the king being like with his candle, like, "What you got for me, babe? What you got? What you got? You got something good? Yeah, you got something good."
If I was alive, I'd be like, "Oh my god, I need to think of the best thing. Like I need to be in everybody's business so I have something good to tell King Louis."
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and then you go into England, and has anyone seen Bridgerton?
No,
you've never seen Bridgerton? Oh, well, that's all about.
My mom said I can't watch it.
I'm sorry.
Chloe, I think, has seen it, but Chloe's not here.
So in Bridgerton,
Mom, I'm sorry. I lied on my mama. My mama didn't say nothing like that.
There is an anonymous writer who writes all about people's lives and whatnot.
Oh.
And that is when gossip columnists started to become this thing.
It's like Regency era Gossip Girl.
Yeah. Yes.
Nailed it.
You
Nailed
did.
it.
So we're talking about the time period of around 1777, 1783. The first gossip columnist was named James Boswell, and he wrote about 70 columns. And then after that time period, they just became more and more prevalent in time. And there were two reasons for that. One of the reasons was that printing was more accessible. So printing was just, you could print it, and every town had their own newspaper. And you could basically, if you had money, you could print anything you wanted. So it was very widespread.
Mm,
It's very interesting.
that is interesting.
And the libel laws in England were relaxed. So there were
So
no
you were
libel.
just free to talk about whatever.
You were free to talk about whatever you wanted
Wow.
to. Yeah.
That's intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
You said 1700s?
1777 to 1783 is when James Boswell first came about. Yeah.
James
And then
Boswell sounds
just
like
keep-
he'd be
kept
a
going
gossip
after that.
columnist.
Yeah. He does. James Boswell.
James Boswell.
Yeah.
I almost joked like, oh, his name wasn't Gossip. James Gossip, and that's how
And
we got the word.
That's how it came from. No,
That's
it
how we
wasn't.
got the
Sorry about that.
Do we want to go into
Yes.
the origin of the word? Do
Yeah.
you know the origin of the word?
Yeah.
I was looking at it, but I want you to talk about it.
Okay. I'll talk. Do you know the
Go.
origin of
I
the
don't know
word?
the origin of the word.
Do you know the origin of the word?
Go. Yeah.
Do you people out there know the origin of the word?
Call us in right now. We're not.
Call us.
Jenna's
My That was amazing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, my mom really wanted to call in and talk to Dominic, but that's not how podcast. She's like, that's not how it works, but I wanted to call in.
For what episode?
For the last, for
Was it transformation?
transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end, Dominic, when he goes into like his rant, his
Mhm. That's what we call it, by the way, the end of the episode. That structure, it's called a rant.
my mom was like, I always imitate my mom. My mom was like, ooh, I thought he was about to start preaching. I was going to call him and be like, you going into preaching?
And my wife's grandfather was a preacher as well. And my wife has told me that when I get to that section, that I sound like her grandfather.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
But go ahead.
Okay, so the word gossip, it actually did not mean what it means today, which is not
Right.
a surprise. Like words change, right? But back, like if we go back to the 12th century, the Old English word of it was actually godsib.
Yeah.
So meaning like God, mother, God, father, God, sibling, kin
Yep.
type thing. And so this word kind of changed because they would refer to gossip as like if you and I were godsibs, we would just like talk to each other
Right.
about.
We were familiar.
Yeah, we were familiar. So we would talk to each other about like, things that were close to us or other things. And so then that sort of gradually changed into like, oh, well, look at them talking about so-and-so. And so
Yeah.
it kind of changed into the gossip that we see now,
Yep.
which is so interesting,
That is really interesting.
right? When you think about like your godsip. And then I was thinking like, oh, you know what? My god brother and I, like maybe when we were younger, maybe we did, you would talk to people who were close to you about, I guess, more intimate or more, I don't know,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah. Very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they do say that in order to gossip, one of the other things I have here, in order to gossip, you have to feel comfortable with the person you are engaging in this with. You
Mm.
have to feel safe, comfortable, and as though it is going to benefit the group or yourself in some way.
I don't think that's always the case, though.
Okay.
I think most of the time it is, but I definitely
Maybe
know
it's more
people.
to the biological form of it. Then.
Well, no, I was just
Yeah.
going to say, I feel like I know people who just enjoy gossiping. They just enjoy the fact that they know.
and they don't have to feel safe.
They don't have to feel safe.
Well, sometimes I do like to but like be like when I like am first meeting someone, be like, do you want to know some of the tea? And then it kind of just brings us closer. Like helps me like.
There's a
I feel like
bonding.
I definitely did that
Yeah.
with Rozzy when I was
Yeah.
getting to know Rozzy.
Mhm.
I spilled tea to Rozzy.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
sort of makes you feel comfortable because you're like, oh, this is a safe space. I can
Like
sort of
it m-
say what I want.
It makes
Yeah.
you feel like you can trust each other, even if you don't already have that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's
Mhm.
true. Do you think there's a difference between venting and gossip?
That's a good question. So
Gossip is more fun than venting.
Yeah.
Venting, it's because you're so just like emotional. Gossip is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
so is venting so I would go back to those 3 things we said earlier, right?
Yeah.
I would think venting might be just like a data dump. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
And maybe venting in my head right now doesn't have the moral judgment part
I
of
feel
it.
like there's still moral judgment
Is there?
because I can be like venting. Like, I'll be like, Jenna did this to me today. She's the absolute worst. Like, I'm
Oh, that's
venting
true.
and I'm making a moral judgment on Jenna. She's the worst.
Yeah, that is correct.
But I'm not having fun while I'm doing it because I'm so frustrated.
So
like,
you're
venting.
then what you're saying is we're missing number 3
The
because it's
fun.
not fun.
It's not if it's not fun, then it's not gossiping.
That's right. The 3 definitions. Now you asked that question. Did you ask it for a reason?
Nope.
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 Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Is there a difference, since we're talking about differences, is there a difference between men and women gossiping? Because I'm going to go back to France. Okay?
to King
Before
Louis.
King Louis. Except that's not how he would have talked. That wasn't
That's
French at all.
that's not.
The candle thing
Yeah.
was rarely, if ever, given to women.
Well, because did they think very much of women?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Rude.
Rude.
But it was also praised of the men who came forward with the candle and had great gossip to share of the most minute details of people's personal lives. So there was like advancement for the men who gossiped with the appropriate amount.
So
for King Louis.
it really was like a business interaction type thing.
It was currency.
Like you're trying,
I mean,
yeah,
I
like
totally
you said.
mean that it was currency. They were
Yeah.
buying their advancement in the state.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
But do you think women are seen the same way?
Women are definitely seen as people who gossip more.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a thing that like anytime women are talking about other people, even if there is no moral judgment, I feel like it can be like described as gossiping just because like women talking about people
Mhm.
like they assume that it has malicious intent because there's so much about like women being jealous of each other and women wanting to put other women down, that kind of thing.
There is, so if we talk about, and this isn't necessarily woman related, but if we talk about some of the negative reasons of gossip, some people do gossip out of envy or jealousy. And when we envy or are jealous of someone, when we're gossiping, usually the intent is to tear apart or tear down someone or make them look lesser in someone's eyes.
Mhm.
And I feel like what you just said, that's the way people view women as gossiping.
Mm.
Yeah.
Whereas potentially when they view men as gossiping, they're not seeing it through that vein. They're seeing it through a different vein.
I think. Oh, you
No, go ahead.
Go ahead,
sorry.
Ozzy.
Well, I was gonna say like when you think of like men gossiping, I don't
Mhm.
think it's associated with gossiping. It's more like being socially aware.
Yeah.
And then if it's women gossiping, I feel like it's like definitely like vilified, and it's like, oh, this girl, she's just a gossip, and she's just talking bad about people because she's like jealous and a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like since I'm like I've like never been in the room when men are talking to only each other because I'm not a man. So I don't know how men talk to
Thank
each
you
other.
for sharing.
Yeah, I'm a girl, she, her. I like don't know if men are as judgmental as women could be when they're gossiping because I don't know how they talk when I'm not around them.
Interesting.
I actually was just reading, wait, no, yeah, it's here.
Mhm.
It's right in front of me. That they were saying, so when it comes to men gossiping versus women gossiping, they're saying that back then, the patriarchy led by men believed that when men gossiped, it was for important reasons. But for women, it wasn't because they were jobless and nobody apart from themselves took it seriously.
Yeah.
All right. And so they were saying that now, like, the difference is that when men do it, it's seen as important and that it's even like it's not even called gossip. It might be called networking or lobbying, right? Or like meeting or discussing.
So they're taking
important
it more to
topics.
the biological.
Yeah.
When you say it's networking, it's for that reason, for the group to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
And they
That's
probably
interesting.
do it in like haughtier tones too. Like, oh, well, did you see so-and-so over there with so-and-so? How
Mhm.
dare
And they did this. I think they are on track for the graph to go up.
Oh, yes. And they always forward,
I've
always
made a
up.
chart, and
Using the word gossip for like when men are talking to each other about like their like about other people doesn't even like feel right to me. Which it's just like because that's such like a feminine thing to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so you don't even identify it as a man thing.
Yeah, because I mean, there's another term I would use for it that I won't say on the podcast. That is something I would more use, like talking crap.
Uh-huh.
But like when it's in like a group of like people of multiple genders, I would probably call it talking crap. And when it's just like the girlies, I'd probably more likely to be call it gossip, which is like prejudice on my part, but that's
But
just how I
I
think
mean,
about it.
if it is, it's because societally you've been trained in such a way,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've been
Yeah.
trained in such a way to think and feel and do X, Y, or Z.
This is true.
Yeah.
Like these connotations are like wired into our brain from like all the things we learn in society and like about how like when things are said to us, then it sort of brings that connotation of like, you know, gossip is then like for women and saying bad things, like you said, is just for men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So let's talk about the negative things of
Okay.
gossip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do we think
It's
are
okay,
some?
Jenna.
Okay.
Well, I'll just tell you what some traits of gossiping people are for not the biological reason.
They walk around like this. Girl.
Yes, for the behavioral reason. Does that
Okay.
make sense? So would it surprise you if I said immaturity is one of them? One of the traits? Not
No.
surprising?
No.
Yep. Gossips are desperate and immature people. They need drama. Emotionally violent. This is where
Emotionally
that
violent.
yeah, this is where that
Ooh.
and this is when that envy thing comes in. So envy is the most violent of all emotions, they say here. Why? People seek to destroy what they envy.
Mm.
Okay, so emotionally violent, parasitic.
Mm.
A gossip may appear to care about you, to be interested in what you have to say, and to be a person you can trust. They will easily garner your confidence and milk you for business and personal information, assuring you they can be trusted. In essence, they are determining ways to manipulate you.
Mm.
And it goes on to say, because if they're providing all of that to you, and they're going to just turn on you the second they can.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a parasite. So those are a few negative reasons, negative qualities of people who
Of people
gossip.
who gossip.
Yeah.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever, well, I'm assuming everybody's been gossiped about at some point, but have you ever, like, I don't know, realized that people were gossiping about you, and what did you do?
Wow. Realized it. Well,
Yeah.
so like walked in on them?
Yeah.
Because has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Where like people have been gossiping
And then
about you and
suddenly
you
they
like
stop
walk
talking.
in and the room is silent when you walk in?
Yeah.
Like an episode of Big Brother?
That's never happened to me, but I like found out I had like friends when I was younger, and I found out that they were all like like talking to each other and never talking to me about problems that they had with me, and so they had just formed like a little like
Like a click.
a little clique of, but it's just all of my friends except for me who were just
Aw.
like feeding into negative energy about Clara, and they didn't like Clara, and so then like when I found out about that, it was because like one of the friends was like, no, I do like Clara, and so I had like someone on the inside be like, Clara, they're all saying this about you, and it just like it comes like kind of, sometimes it feels like it comes kind of out of nowhere, because you're like, because when it's gossip, they're not talking to you about it, they're talking to
Right.
other people. So like you might have no idea that this person had a problem with you, and you're hearing about it for the very first time because they're telling other people that they have a problem about you, and that can
Right.
like just like be so hurtful.
Yeah.
That's true. I feel like when you find out that someone's talking bad about you behind your back, you're sort of faced with that decision, like, what do I do? Do I continue being friends and just like suck it up? Or then sometimes people take that path where they gossip about other, like the person that's gossiping about them.
Yeah.
So then it can sort of turn into like a negative cycle of gossiping.
Yeah, they
It's kind
fight
of hard to
gossip with
confront
gossip.
people when you know that they've been talking about you too.
Right.
If they
Yeah.
don't know, then it's just like, oh, like like it's,
Right.
how do you go about that? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like there's no winning to that.
There is, yeah. Well, and yeah, you're right. And that's hard. And I used to tell somebody, they'd be like, oh, somebody is, they're saying this about you. And I was like, people are going to say things. Like, if I'm going to confront everybody who's going to gossip about me, that's going to be a long battle. But it's hard to know what to do or when to do it or like what to say to people, and how to kind of keep not letting it affect you too. Because when you hear that people are a bunch of people are talking about you, you're like, well, why?
Right.
And why wouldn't they just come talk to me? Like, let's talk about what's going on.
So that's some of the negative, right?
Yeah.
Can we maybe end a little bit on some of the positive?
Wait, before we do, can
Yes.
I show you a picture?
I would love to see a picture.
Okay. In the in the past, they used to make rules about they had laws forbidding women to gossip, and if they broke those laws, there would be some punishments, such as the scold's bridle. I'm showing a picture.
Hold it up
that
to
they
that
would
camera
put
if you can. There.
over your face.
Oh my gosh, this is like a muzzle.
Yeah.
Jeez.
To stop you from talking.
So I'm just curious. So the picture Jenna just held up was of a woman.
Yeah, it was just for
Mhm.
women.
It was just for women.
It wasn't for men.
Oh,
Yeah, it was just
Rosny,
for
how
women.
do you feel about that?
that makes me so angry.
Here's another one. This is called the gossip's bridle.
That is disgusting.
No, right?
Again, on a woman.
Exam.
Yeah.
It was only for women. It was to prevent them from talking or nagging.
It's so
That's
angering.
so- Ugh.
What is there a year on that? A decade at least, or
This was
the
the first documented use of I think the gossip's bridle was in Scotland in 1567.
wow.
That picture that you have has a woman in such like a 40s hairstyle looking thing. Like
This one?
no, the
No,
other
the
one.
other
The other
one.
one. That one looks like
Looks so like recent.
Yeah, I
It
don't
looks a
know
lot
when
more
this one
recent.
was.
oh,
Wow.
she looks so sad.
I know. I
Right.
can't with her eyes.
Dominic, can I ask you a question about one of the pictures you have over there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a screenshot of a TikTok?
Yeah,
yes,
it is. I'm getting to
It
that.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just excited for that because I looked over. Like,
It is. You
You're
got
like, I
it. It is
know
a
that
screenshot of a
picture.
TikTok. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. So let's go to good uses of gossip. First of all, if we fast forward, so earlier in the episode,
Yeah.
you rewound us all
I
the way
did
in
rewind
time,
us.
right? Let's fast forward to now.
Okay.
I said we would talk about entertainment and gossip. And we talked about gossip columnists and how basically anyone who had the money to could print something in a paper and it was gossip and it was out there. Well, now we have social media. And you don't have to necessarily even have money to gossip. You just have to
A good internet
you just
connection.
have to type it. You can go to the library. You can type it out on social media and you can gossip with those three levels, those three key things, which are talking about someone else when they're not present. Although I don't know if that counts on the internet because isn't everyone present on the internet, or is no one present because you're all alone and isolated, right? That's a question.
Touché.
And then moral judgment, and then it's fun. A lot of people have fun trolling on the internet, don't
Yeah.
they? So there was, do we know who West Elm Caleb was?
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
I was obsessed with that.
What do you know about it? Share.
The West Elm Caleb thing. There was a point when all I knew about it is that he was like trolling on dating apps, kind of.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's wrong with that? That's hilarious. He should be allowed to do that. Why are they talking crap about him? But it was just so funny because all of these women were like, wait, did we all have the same bad experience with the same guy?
And
From
they
this
did.
dating app? And they did.
Right? Yeah. And so that is potentially a good. This one, in my research, kind of toes the line a little bit. Like it's maybe oversteps a little, but the original use of the gossiping, which is talking about the person while they're not here, to protect other women and to get the news out, to tell you in that biological way that man is not to be trusted. That is a
so
good.
that would be a form of gossip.
That would be a form of gossip, and it could be considered a form of good gossip. Now, when you get the additional comment and all of the extra negative things and the harsh things and the maybe somewhat slanderous, like all these other things, that might overstep a little bit and be a negative use of gossip. But the original intent of that is good. So here are some other positive ways that we can gossip, right? Or how gossip can be used, right? It can help us assess and manage reputations. Okay, we can talk about someone behind their back. We'll call it behind their back. Come to a moral judgment, and it can be fun in a positive way. Let's take this into account. We have an unjust circumstance that has happened to an individual. Okay, and we talk about it behind that individual with them not present, and we come to this moral judgment that they have been wronged and the world is not right in this instance, and we enjoy that moment. That's technically gossip, right?
It's so hard for me to think about this gossip, though.
Right. Well, according to those three definitions, right? They're not there. We come to a moral judgment, which can be a good moral judgment.
Yeah.
And it was fun for us. That is good. That's a good thing. And in fact, biologically, studies have been done on human beings when they go through that exact scenario I just said. An unjust situation happens, and in order to process it, they need to gossip about it without the person there and come to the moral judgment. By gossiping about it, they actually lower their blood pressure. They calm themselves down about the situation because they're able to talk through it, and that gossiping helps them.
So,
Yeah.
hear me out.
I'm gonna go, Jenna.
But would you, okay. So would you, but, okay. But if we're
oversimplified, by the way.
If we're going by that person's definition of gossip, but not everybody goes by that definition of gossip.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know. I guess it's hard to know. Well, I guess I would always call gossip like a negative thing because that's the definition that I've always known and gone by. Is that. So it really depends on what you're going by.
So ignore the biological reasons.
Yeah.
Jenna, I thought of a good example of gossip that I don't think is bad.
Okay.
And it's like you and your friends talking about like two of your friends who like maybe might have something going on and you're really excited for both of them, but neither of them are in the room and all you're doing is having fun talking about like what could happen between them, what has happened between them. That's not like harmful. That's exciting because you're saying that's so fun. These two people might get together. What is it? He said this. She said that. Oh,
you know what? I do that.
That's fun.
I do. I just love a good little story. You know?
We do.
Dang it.
And that is partially why our entertainment has evolved in such a way, too, because we love to gossip about those kinds of things. We love to see that in our entertainment, whether it's in our lives or it's not. We want to be part of that. We have a desiring to be part of that. But back to the positive.
Do you think that's why Hallmark Channel is so popular? Because
I don't know why Hallmark.
Claire looked at me like, what?
What does that have to do with Hallmark?
I don't know. I just thought about people coming together, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it didn't connect.
That's okay.
You know, I'm going to take it back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can gossip about me if you need to.
It helps us learn how to behave socially. It can do that.
Because you don't want people gossiping about you?
Yeah.
Like, is that how
everyone talks bad
like,
about the person who does this, so I'm not going to be that person.
Yeah.
You don't want to be warned as the untrustworthy person. Warned about, I mean. Does that make
You
sense?
don't want to be the primate that didn't take
That didn't reciprocate.
That didn't reciprocate.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing it back.
We can reinforce group norms. Okay? So by us sharing information on people and knowing who is untrustworthy in our group, we can eliminate people from our groups, workplaces, etc., right? We can eliminate people from our work groups and then make more functional work groups, groups that work better together without the people who are the freeloaders, as people might say. And we can influence others. That one can be taken kind of either way, I think. But those are some of the positive ways that gossip can be used.
Okay.
And I think that those are the reasons, the things we should be focusing on in terms of gossip. You know, when we first came about this word, I was expecting something very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I left this word thinking that there can be so many positive takeaways from gossip. If we embrace the biological reasons for gossip and we keep in mind at all times that we don't want to be the person, that primate who is non-reciprocating. We don't want to be that freeloader. That will push us to strive to do great things and to be part of the group where people are wanting to keep you involved with that group, keep you in the mix. I think the rough part of gossip's history, the bad rap that gossip gets, is how humanity has skewed it, how it has become a currency, how it has become something that you can use to buy. I think the bad rap from gossip has come from its injustice and inequity between genders. I think that if we are to adequately look at the word gossip and the function of gossip, we must equally look at it between genders the same way. We must not muzzle one gender and not the other, because we think that one gender's use of it is more noble than another's. Gossip can be good. Gossip can also be praising. If we can learn to think more of the positive moral judgments on people, I think we could turn gossip around. But not with social media.
I know. No, not with social media.
Not with social media. Well,
I'm just going to call it something else.
Yeah. Maybe there's another word, Jenna.
I haven't been won over about gossip
That's
yet.
okay. Well, my friends, you have been listening to One Word.
One word.
One word. One word.
I am Dominic.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Rozzy.
And I'm Clara.
That was our special guest, Rozzy.
Hey,
Thank you for
hey,
being
hey,
here,
hey,
Rozzy.
Thank you.
Our word for next month is thrill. We'll see you next time.
One Word is a production of BFAC On Air.